Hi, everyone, and welcome into the latest edition of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. I'm your beat reporter for Michigan State Spartans on SI, Aidan Champion. Yesterday, we covered the defensive tackle room for Michigan State, the latest of our series of position group breakdowns. Michigan State football going into next season and where every room kind of stands right now. And today, we're going to be getting into the exterior of the defensive line, edge rush position, defensive end. And you look at if you look at those groups combined, um, there's not a whole lot of familiarity, I guess, when you consider, guys who started their careers at Michigan State, because really, it's just Jalen Thompson, who, is going to be a junior next season. And but when you look beyond that, Um, there were some guys who transferred in last year. And then, of course, you had some transfers this offseason as well. But Jalen Thompson, really the only guy who had joined Michigan State right out of high school. He's going to be expected to be the leader of this group and, comes off uh, his first full season as a starter. You know, um, I really admired in spring camp, he had talked to the media one day and was really sure of what he needed to do to get better, particularly getting to the quarterback, which was an issue for Michigan State's entire defense last year. But Thompson seemed very frustrated because he felt that there were many times he was so close and it was sometimes it was just a matter of angles, whatnot. And he knows now certain things he needs to tweak and do better in order to finish the play and ultimately get a sack or get in the backfield uh, and cause some disruption. So I'm looking for him to have a big year, and I think he will. Because third year now, it's the case for a lot of guys on this team. Third year, or at least stepping into more experienced role, and I'm looking for him to really take the next step, not just on the field, but as a leader too. And then you look at some other guys, I talked about, or I mentioned transfers that had joined the program last year. You look at Tyler Gilson, a guy who didn't even play last year, missed the year due to injury, um, had come over from Cincinnati, where he played 10 games. In his first year of action, redshirted the year before that, but um, really kind of excited to see what he's able to do because we haven't seen him yet, at least in a game setting. So, um, that will be intriguing what he's able to do. Um, and based on how things go in fall camp, um, I'd be interested to see if he does, get impactful snaps next year because now a room that wasn't as deep going into the spring, now it is. So there's going to be a lot of competition uh, in the defensive end, edge rush area of the field. I'm looking at Quindarius Dunnigan, who, another guy who transferred over last year, had came from Middle Tennessee State, played in 11 games last year, um, and really kind of found his stride towards the end of the year. Um, Particularly, the last two games. I think about the fumble that he forced against Purdue in that second to last game, and then he played a season high snaps on defense against Rutgers in that in that finale. Um, and so, really looking for him to make an impact. And um, I think Jalen's a shoe-in starter, but then from there, you've really it's really anyone's spot as far as the other side of the D line goes. Um, you brought in transfers. David Santiago from Air Force expected to um, be a significant contributor on the edge, and um, Anelu Lafele from Wisconsin, who hasn't played yet, but um, you've got a young guy there from fellow Big Ten school. Uh, he'll be in the mix competing, and then of course Isaac Smith, you recently brought over, um, guy who they didn't bring over for nothing. I mean, I think it's more than depth. I think he's got a solid chance to compete for a starting job, um, or at the very least be a reserve guy overall. And of course, he wasn't brought in some other edge rushers, but you know, I'm looking at him as a guy who really has the highest potential in terms of really making an impact next year. But um, I was going to say overall the emphasis, of course, needs to be getting to the quarterback for this room. Um, and that obviously, like I said, as an issue last year. Just Michigan State just kind of went away from that unintentionally, of course, but it was something they started off the year really strongly doing, and uh, just couldn't get back to it. Um, Coach Coach Leahy had said that he felt part of it was teams were starting to figure them out on film, um, and then part of it was they just weren't emphasizing it as much in practice as they had been, and so that's something obviously you just got to keep consistent, and then it's also just um, mixing up the looks you're giving teams, changing it up, and um, you know, I mean that's the case for any team, for any situation. You got to be able to um, adjust the playbook or um, kind of throw some things in that you hadn't necessarily before. Because teams figure you out, and teams, the further you get into the season, the more you're putting on tape. So, uh, but I do think that with this being an emphasis, that there will be an improvement in sacking the quarterback, disrupting the backfield. Um, because when they were doing those things last year, they looked like a really solid defense, particularly up front seven in the box, and I think that's something they can get back to, and when they can, this can be a really good defense, really can, especially with Joe Rossi, and I really do think that they've got a solid group they can work with here. So, as always, thank you everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it every time. Um, Continue to follow on with our podcast, with our written coverage of Michigan State that you can read on Michigan State Spartans on SI, providing you tons of content every single day. And we got you covered on everything: Michigan State football, Michigan State basketball, you name it. So thank you again, and hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Thanks.